Already we're phasing out 8 of the most common artificial food dyes.
Increase the amount of Roundup or glyphosate that is allowable on the food in our supermarkets by 100 times.
When it comes to the health of the population, it's been a 50-year failure. We have got to change course.
So today we've got the MAHA report, and I'm going to share with you snippets from that, and we will discuss those as we go. I don't know if you've been following this, but in the States there's this huge movement called the MAHA movement, Make America Healthy Again, and it's getting huge support from the mums. And for very good reason, is because the children in America are suffering terribly with chronic disease, with up to 40% of the kids having one or another chronic disease and being on prescription drugs. And these things include cancer's on the rise, diabetes, also epilepsy and autism and these sorts of things. So there's a lot of problems with metabolic conditions and obesity as well. This is a big problem in America for the children, and it's a growing problem for adults as well. And they know that it's connected to toxicity, or they're investigating. They want to prove that it's directly related to toxicity with processed foods, with the food chain, with pesticides and chemicals and pharmaceuticals and so on. I've been saying this for decades, and it's really interesting. It's really great to see it happening. So today we've got the MAHA report. All right, so I'm going to switch over to that and share some of this with you now.
4 months ago, I created the Presidential Commission to Make America Healthy Again, and today the Commission officially delivers its first report on childhood health. Here are just some of the alarming findings, and they really are alarming. It's unbelievable, terrible. More than 40% of American children now have at least one chronic health condition. Since the 1970s, rates of childhood cancer have soared in many cases by nearly 50%, 50%. Well, in the 1960s, less than 5% of the children were obese. Now over 20% are obese. A few decades ago, 1 in 1, think of this one. This is, to me, the one that gets me every time, and it seems to be getting worse. Just a few decades ago, 1 in 10,000 children had autism. Today, it's 1 in 31. Last time I heard the number is 1 in 34, right? Now it's 1 in 31. There's something wrong, and we will not stop until we defeat the chronic disease epidemic in America. We're going to get it done. For the first time ever, this report examines some of the root causes that many believe are making our children sicker and our population sicker, I guess. It just doesn't stop with the children. It's our population also, such as the ultra-processed foods, over-medicalization and over-prescription and widespread exposure to potentially toxic chemicals. Unlike other administrations, we will not be silenced or intimidated by the corporate lobbyists or special interests. And I want this group to do what they have to do. We have to spell it out. In some cases, it won't be nice or it won't be pretty, but we have to do it. When you hear 10,000, it was 1 in 10,000, and now it's 1 in 31 for autism. I think that's just a terrible thing. It has to be something on the outside, it has to be artificially induced, has to be. And we'll not allow our public health system to be captured by the very industries it's supposed to oversee. So we're demanding the answers. The public is demanding the answers, and that's why we're here. Already we're phasing out 8 of the most common artificial food dyes.
So he mentioned a few things there that really are surprising to hear and good to hear. Taking on the industry. So the industry meaning the food industry and the pharmaceutical industries in particular, because they're the two big ones that are responsible for pumping chemicals into the population. In other words, I think it's 70 to 80% of the food that goes in the shopping trolleys in the supermarkets, and the overprescription of drugs. We use a pharmaceutical drug for just about every possible ailment or ill, instead of being introduced to something natural or alternative or holistic or traditional. That's a big problem we have. And so we have to investigate these things. And I think the problem is that these industries are basically funding the regulators. In most countries, most Western civilizations have a government that is funded by those government departments, those regulatory departments, by the industries that they regulate. And so there's a lot of conflicts of interest. And he talks about this a little bit too. This is a really major problem. And I don't think anyone's really had the strength or the courage to really take this on head on and go against the establishment. And we really need this government to shift away from being funded by the industry, being funded by the multi-million, billion, trillion-dollar industries that are the food and drug industries that are poisoning the populations and causing, I believe, and strongly, there's so much evidence for it. I don't know why we have to do this, go back and do all this research, because the research has already been done and proven. And one of the things I should also point out here is they want to eliminate a lot of these toxins and chemicals, possibly find out what they are and eliminate them from the food chain. Whereas in New Zealand, they've got a proposal at the moment. The Ministry of Primary Industries have got a proposal forward to increase the amount of Roundup or glyphosate that is allowable on the food in our supermarkets by 100 times. Can you believe it? 100 times. And this is a shocking thing, that they're wanting to increase the amount of this poison that's allowed to be on our food by 100 times. So we'll carry on. I'll just show you another snippet from this.
We're joined here by senators, advocates, governors who I have worked with, and CEOs who I know who are all ready to begin carrying out this mission. This is the beginning of a conversation, a national conversation that we are going to have with maturity, with nuance, for the first time in history, thanks to your leadership, President Trump. There is a reason that the MAHA mom sided with you, President Trump. It's because this administration has the bravery to tell the truth and solve problems through innovation and not nanny state regulation. President Trump, I'm honored to present to you the MAHA report and work with this incredible cabinet that you have brought together to make our children healthy again.
And then is just so highly respected, Dr. Marty McCary. Would you say a couple of words, please?
Thank you, Mr. President. The United States is the best in the world when it comes to proton beam therapy, CAR T, sophisticated operations. But when it comes to the health of the population, it's been a 50-year failure. And we have got to change course. And it's not until you have had the courage to let us take on these giant issues, as Vince Haley said, without any sacred cows, that we've been able to change. And I think this will transform our healthcare system from a reactionary system where doctors are playing whack-a-mole to a proactive system. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
So I thought this is worth reiterating as well. He's talking about the reactionary system, or the doctors playing whack-a-mole, which is basically chasing disease symptoms around in circles, where you end up treating one problem with maybe with some antibiotics, and then that raises another problem with gut health, and so you end up with inflammatory bowel disease or something else. And so the pharmaceuticals and the continual use of the processed foods, the processed carbs and processed fats and all the chemicals that go in the food, going into the body, overloading the liver, and the drugs, the pharmaceutical drugs, further overloading the liver. The doctors are constantly going around in circles, chasing disease after disorder. And this is a reactionary disease care system that we have. That's the model that we've basically adopted under the pharmaceutical umbrella of every disease is treatable by a pharmaceutical drug. Whereas what we need to do is be proactive and preventative. And they're starting to get their heads around this concept. Hopefully, this is a model that leads the world. If they can make it change, if they can make a change in America, the rest of the world will take notice, because America has got the worst health outcomes in the world, almost at the bottom of a list of 100 countries. They are right down the very bottom. They're in a terrible state of health, the Americans. And we're following the Americans around the world. The Western civilized world has basically followed that model and adopted that model. And so we've got the same model in New Zealand. Our healthcare system is broken, falling apart. overburdened, stressed, cracking at the seams, basically. And you see it all the time on the news here in New Zealand, that there's not enough staff, the waiting lists are getting longer and longer. People are dying because they can't even get to the hospital on time to have their operations. And it's terrible. It's a terrible system. It's a failing model. And it's about time we woke up and realized that. Whereas we've got this traditional holistic healing models, herbal medicines, even naturopathic medicines, traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, all of these traditional holistic healing practices, which are based on prevention, balance and harmony, and treating mild imbalances before they become diseases. And so, yes, cleaning up the food chain and the environment and reducing the amount of pharmaceuticals is a step in the right direction. But introducing holistic traditional medicines into our systems or into our mindsets and actually seeking it out is the first priority that we should be looking at. So let's carry on.
Representing, I think the farmer's better than just about anybody can do, is Senator Roger Marshall. Could you say a couple of words, Roger, please?
Mr. President, as you know, I spent 25 years delivering babies most every day. We saw a huge epidemic of diabetes, of pregnancy, and this has exploded in so many different directions now. We have an epidemic in mental health in our youth. Obesity rates 20-30%, 20% of our children on a prescription drug, 60-70% of adults on a prescription drug. We can do better than this. And it does start with the farmer. It starts with soil health. And I just want you to know that our farmers are so committed to this as well. And so many of them are already doing great things. They're making the soil healthier. They're using less pesticides. They're doing all the right things. It's going to take a little bit more effort and time to get everybody with those practices. But the American farmer and rancher were the original environmentalists, the original conservationists, and they'll be right here working beside us, and we appreciate your support of them as well.
Thank you, Roger. Good.
This is another great takeaway from this MAHA meeting, is that the farmers are involved and the farmers are showing huge support for this movement. And this is really fantastic, because one of the biggest problems we have is with our food is that it's artificially enhanced with all kinds of fertilizers. It's covered in pesticides and sprays. They know that 70 to 80% of the produce in the supermarkets has still got a lot of pesticide residues on it. And as I was saying, they want to increase the amount of pesticides that are on our foods in New Zealand. So it's a ridiculous thing that the farmers really need to be involved in this whole process. And it does start with the soil and the quality of the food. Obviously, organic food is the best option available these days. I doubt very much whether we're going to see an elimination of chemicals and artificial substances in the food chain within my lifetime, to be honest, here in New Zealand. And possibly in America, it's going to take many years, probably a decade or more, before they're going to clean that system up. So going organic food, growing your own food at home is really the key to it. Grow as much fruit as you can at home, vegetables, and consume those foods and grow them organically if you can. So that's my suggestion. But it's really good to see that this is happening, that the starting to detox the whole system is what we really need to do. But, we can only detox ourselves in the meantime. So let's carry on with this.
Oz, I see your eyes are gleaming because you've been talking about this for a long time, but you've never had anyone willing to do it. But I'm willing to do it. And I think it's going to go down as one of the most important things we've ever done, because drug costs are going down. Think of it. Then every year for 21 years, the costs have gone up. And now they're going down maybe by 85, 80. I'm telling you, 89% in two instances, 89% cut. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. So I'd like to ask Oz in particular, because you and I know each other. He's a very tough hombre, this one. He's tough as hell. And so if you can lead the group, and it's not going to be easy. You're going to have to get in and you're going to have to fight. If you do it, you can have, within a period of weeks, you can have drug costs that drop like a rock, okay? So you, as a group, I have great confidence, and if you don't do it, I am firing every single one. Good luck, guys. All right? Can you handle it?
Got to have a sense of humour, don't you? I think he's talking to Dr. Oz there, and Dr. Oz is involved with the whole process of dealing with the pharmaceutical companies. and the pricing of pharmaceutical drugs. It is ridiculous, some of the prices that we pay for pharmaceutical drugs and how many trillions of dollars that these pharmaceutical companies are pulling in. And overpriced pharmaceutical drugs is a big problem all around the world. I know here in New Zealand that some of the drugs are, you're looking at sometimes $10,000, $20,000 for treatments for things when people could be dying without these drugs. So it's a constant battle with pharmaceutical companies. So it's a really good thing that if they can get some of those, end-of-life treatments down, especially life-saving treatments, cost of those things down, it's really, really good to see. So apart from that, I think the takeaway from this really important MAHA initiative for me is that they're going to clean up or try to clean up, and hopefully they can clean up and take on some of these industrial giants that are pushing the government around and making regulations that work in their favour. We need to see the regulations work in favour of the health of the people and not favour the industry. And then they need to take responsibility for, what they're doing to the public health and the food chain. And so in the meantime, all we can do is look after ourselves and detox ourselves and keep our own, intake of pharmaceuticals down as low as possible and try to eat food as clean as we possibly can. And if, these things build up, which they do over a period of time, it's always good to do a detox at least once a year just to clean up any residues that have accumulated in our own body. Even our own endogenous wastes can accumulate into our cells as well as we age especially. So keep up the good work. I'll be sharing more with you. I'll be following this MAHA movement and seeing what the outcomes actually are at the end of the day, which is going to be really interesting. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you again soon.